without family's blessing. I mean, like it's one of those deals where half the family says, "Yeah, it'd be great," and the other side says no. Man, it puts the company in a tough spot because they're damned if they do or damned if they don't. Because if they do put them in, then they look like not honoring the widow's wishes. But if they don't put them in, then they're not honoring his legacy in the ring. I'm just glad I'm not the guy who has to make that decision.
That's true. That's a very good point. I didn't thought about your opinion because I know you knew the guy really well, and I knew you were there in the trenches when he was one of the best at the time.
Absolutely, like best in-ring performers, but especially people talk about who are the greatest wrestlers of all time, but it's much more than that. Owen entertained. He was great in the ring, and you can argue between him and Brent who was better. I mean, it's a debate, but Owen was very entertaining as well. His persona on screen and off screen. He just got it. He just had it. So very maybe underutilized, but we're starting to get some recognition. It's just, like I said, a terrible tragedy.
Okay. Well, let's cheer things up a little bit. Like I said, I just wanted to get that out of the way now because I know some people would kill me if I didn't bring it up.
Right.
So. Let's talk some good moments. I'll just fast forward a little bit. I jumped in. I'm a little bit of a late bloomer. I wasn't really in the Attitude Era, personally. I wasn't around during. Looking back at it, I'm almost kind of glad I didn't watch a lot of the Attitude Era. But you went through the Attitude Era. What were your highlights during the Attitude Era? Your highlights of the Attitude Era for people that did not live through it.
Yeah, see, I like everybody else, the Attitude Era, I enjoyed immensely, and it was for, I think, different reasons from what most people like the Attitude Era for. I mean, I know a lot of people like the Attitude Era for its edginess and the edgy content and pushing the envelope and that sort of stuff. I enjoyed the Attitude Era more because of the talent. I think the talent was more responsible for the Attitude Era than the content itself. You know, you can have all these crazy types of matches and that sort of stuff, but if you don't have stars that the people are invested in, then it doesn't matter what kind of match you're having.
Sure.
I mean, you could have the greatest technical wrestling match in the world and people sitting on their hands because they're not being entertained. But during the Attitude Era, there was a roster where almost from top to bottom, people cared about almost everybody. Everybody had issues with somebody. They're like you look at it from a main event level of Stone Cold, The Rock, Kurt Angle, all these guys. But then again, as soon as you go down to the mid card, you've got Edge and Christian, you've got the Hardys, you've got the Dudleys, you've got all these guys that people cared about. So for me, the thing I remember most about the Attitude Era is the depth on the card. And I think that's what made it special more than anything else.
As you say that, I'm thinking, and you go to the bottom, and you also have like a Crash Holly and an Al Snow and all them at the bottom of the card, which is like, they're still big names. They're still people that you will remember.
Yeah, I mean, like those names you just named, those guys were guys that, you know, like you said, I don't want to say bottom of the card, but they were, you know, mid-card, maybe anywhere between lower and upper mid-card, and, you know, like pretty much every match on the card mattered, and people cared.
Yeah, I started listening to a podcast, the Attitude Era podcast, I'm not sure if you listen, where they go through every pay-per-view during the Attitude Era. What's interesting is, because one of the people on there didn't watch the Attitude Era as it happened, and it's interesting listening to the point of view of, wow, some of that is crap, but otherwise, these are some of the best wrestlers we've ever seen.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And like I said, for me, and it was during the Attitude Era, you know, Monday Night War, you know, gave birth to the Attitude Era. So it was, for me, it was a fun time. It was a blast. But like I said, you know, some of the content. I don't want to get into specifics like Katie Vick, but some of the content wasn't exactly great. But, you know, the talent was there, and that's the thing that drove the Attitude Era more than anything.
Oh no, trust me, I know exactly what you're saying. There are some specific moments where it's like, why did that happen? Why
yeah, but it happens not in every era, and I mean, like, I go back to the original Hulk Hogan Golden Era when he first won the title from the Iron Sheik, and I'll watch stuff and I'll go, oh man, that was a little cartoony. Oh, I don't know. But then something else would happen. You go, oh man, that was good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're going to have hits and misses all the time. Nothing can be a complete home run. I mean, well, I don't want to say nothing can be a complete home run, but there's going to be times where you look at the product and you go, you know what, that didn't work for me. But for me, being a glass half full kind of guy, even stuff that I didn't like, I try to find something positive out of it. Something that makes, you know what, that didn't work for me, but maybe, let me find something that I did like it.
Yeah.
If I can. Sometimes you can't, but at least I try.
I know how you feel. I'm that kind of person myself, actually. I completely understand. So after the Attitude Era happened, the WCW folded, ECW folded. Were you in the middle of the Invasion? I remember during the Invasion they had that weird referee match that happened. Were you in the middle of that?
Yeah, we were on the outside when Earl had his match against Nick Patrick.
That was one of the strangest things I've ever seen. It was strange.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, like, it was a nice little sidebar to the Invasion rivalry, but I'm always of the mindset that it's okay once in a while to have referees involved in a storyline, but at the end of the day, referees don't sell tickets. You know what I mean? It may be a nice little side story, but I was always of the mindset, referees don't sell tickets. Nobody wants to pay money to see a guy count to 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever the case may be, or if you're an ROH 20.
Yeah.
Referees are kind of like a supporting player. The referee's the kind of guy like, somebody will see him and go, wait, I know that guy from somewhere, but I can't place him right now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Or like an actor, like I saw him in something, and I know I saw him in something, and it's one of those deals where you're invisible until you need to be visible. So that's.
Yeah. Well, you say referees don't get recognized. I remember I used to live in New Jersey, and I used to go to a lot of shows in Jersey. And Mike Chioda was the guy everyone always chanted for. He was like,
right.
He had a chant and signs and all that kind of stuff. Did you ever really want to be that kind of popular, where it's like everyone knows you by name and chants your name and you walk out?
Not necessarily. I mean, like it's nice to be recognized, which is cool. But for me, it was never about that. I mean, I was doing something I loved. You know what I mean? I loved doing it, and I still love the business today. It's just, for me, it was never about the recognition, even though it's nice to get some recognition. You know what I mean? It was just, like, for me, 1999, the referee strike angle, which I got a little bit of, I had my so-called 15 minutes of fame there. But, you know what I mean? That was plenty for me. I didn't need more than that. That was nice. But, like I said, for me, it just, I don't. It's nice to get the recognition, but at the same time, I'd rather be known for a guy that the boys can count on too, and don't have to worry about when my name is on the board beside their match.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I brought up, and I went through a lot of shows in Jersey, and that was actually after the brand extension, and. You're actually refereeing mostly on SmackDown side, correct?
Hold on, I think I lost.
There you are.
I think I lost you there.
There you are. Okay,
yeah.
You there? Okay. Let me start my question again so I can start it over. Okay. I was brought up and I went to shows in Jersey, and I started really going to shows during the brand extension, after the brand extension happened. And I know you were mainly on SmackDown, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I personally, I watched SmackDown actually at the time more than Raw. That's just me at the time because I really enjoyed watching SmackDown. What was it like, really, the difference between SmackDown and Raw for you once the brand split happened?
Difference, I thought, was I think there were two philosophies on both shows. I mean, Raw, obviously the flagship show, and there was this perception that SmackDown was considered the B show. So there was that little friendly rivalry amongst the boys on which show wanted to be better. Obviously, different styles. I think Raw was more geared towards, I want to say more geared towards the established guys and the vets. I mean, SmackDown had mainstays, like you take Taker, for example, Undertaker. I mean, even though they named SmackDown after The Rock, SmackDown was really the Undertaker show.
That's true.
He was the staple. He was the mainstay on SmackDown, and there was that friendly little rivalry where, I guess especially when Heyman took over the reins of creative on SmackDown, where SmackDown was known as the wrestling show as opposed to sports entertainment show, and I guess that attracted the hardcore audience more to SmackDown, I guess, but. There was never really any animosity between the boys of the two. It was just like a friendly little, oh, we're better than you guys kind of thing. Yeah. But it was fun. I think it wouldn't be a terrible idea to maybe rethink that strategy again today, especially now that so many up and coming talents, young guys that look like they're ready to graduate from NXT. It wouldn't be a bad thing to rethink that strategy and go back to the brand extension.
Yeah, I've had that conversation with people before because at the time it gave people like a Kurt Angle an actual show for him to do his own thing. At the same time, brought up a John Cena, and at the time Batista was on SmackDown. He started on SmackDown before he went over to Evolution. They brought up people that you didn't know who they were, and they came into the limelight. I know, like Eddie Guerrero was the main eventer over on SmackDown for a long time. There, JBL debuted on SmackDown, and people forget that. And
absolutely, and like you said, it was. I don't want to say it was a stepping stone to Raw, but it was a separate platform for them to highlight guys who don't normally get to be highlighted on Raw. And also, like you said, bring up guys and establish them as new characters on the main roster. So guys coming up from OVW or Deep South at the time, wherever it happened to be. So it served two purposes. It not only provided you a TV show worth watching, it also, helped establish new stars and mixed in with some really, really good veterans.
It's very, very, very true. I lost my place in my notes. Give me a second here. I can put it in my place because I'm jumping around on my notes. So I jumped to you actually refereed probably one of my favorite main events for a WrestleMania, and that was WrestleMania 24. A little story though. Back to WrestleMania 24, I didn't really appreciate the Edge Taker match for what it was. At the time, because it was late, I was tired, and I started falling asleep. I started falling asleep watching it live. Right.
4 hours is a long show, man.
Yeah. Well, I watched it the next day, and I got to appreciate how brilliant that match truly was. And was that really your first main event for WrestleMania officially?
Officially, yes. That was my first main event for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And like you said, especially on a night like that, WrestleMania 24, it was such a... It was a good WrestleMania overall, but you had such an emotional moment earlier in the show with Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels. I don't want to say it took the steam out of the crowd, but man, it took a lot of the emotion out of the crowd. They exerted a lot of emotion during that match and stuff. So the brilliance of the match for me was in the storytelling and the psychology, and that's what does it more for me as opposed to, I know the business evolves and changes, and styles are differing, and I can appreciate all the different styles